The city never slept, but it never rested either. Tall alien towers rose into the dark sky, their surfaces glowing with cold blue light. Between them ran narrow streets filled with steam, shadows, and fear. This was the lower city of Vierlia Prime, where humans lived because they were not allowed anywhere else. Elias Mercer ran. His boots slapped against the metal ground as alarms echoed behind him. The sound was sharp and unnatural, like metal screaming. He did not look back, but he could feel them coming. The alien guards moved fast, faster than any human. Their armor was smooth and silver, their eyes hidden behind dark visors. They did not need to shout. The city itself guided them. Elias clutched the small data shard inside his jacket. It was thin, light, and more dangerous than any weapon. His heart beat hard, not only from running, but from knowing what he carried. The Resistance had waited years for this information. Supply routes, guard patterns. Proof that the Empire was weaker than it wanted everyone to believe. He had been careful, he always was, but tonight something had gone wrong. A scanning drone had drifted too close, just for a second, long enough. Now the hunt was on. Elias turned sharply into a service corridor, barely slowing down. Pipes ran along the walls, dripping warm liquid that smelled of chemicals. The lights flickered. He slid under a half-closed barrier and felt it scrape his back, but he kept moving. Pain could wait. Survival could not. He heard the guards enter the corridor. Their footsteps were smooth, almost quiet, but their presence felt heavy like pressure in the air. Elias pushed himself harder, lungs burning. He was not strong. He was not special. He was just human, and humans survived by moving when others hesitated. The corridor ended suddenly, opening into a wide platform filled with transport gates. Most were sealed, marked with symbols Elias could not read but had learned to fear. These gates led to places humans were never meant to go. The guards were close now. He could hear the faint hum of their weapons charging, not loud but steady. Calm, confident. Elias scanned the gates quickly. His planned route was blocked. 2 exits were already closing, heavy doors sliding down with finality. The city was cutting him off, guiding him toward capture. "Think," he whispered to himself. One gate remained open, just one. It was taller than the others, its frame carved with flowing alien designs instead of simple metal. Soft white light spilled from within, clean and quiet, unlike the harsh glow of the lower city. Elias hesitated. That gate was wrong. He had never seen it open before. He had heard rumors whispered by workers who disappeared and never returned. Paths that led upward, not outward. Paths watched by something old. The guards turned the corner behind him. Elias ran for the gate. The moment he crossed the threshold, the sound vanished. No alarms. No footsteps. Even his own breathing seemed too loud in the sudden silence. The gate sealed behind him with a smooth motion, leaving no seam, no handle, no way back. He stumbled forward and nearly fell, catching himself on a polished stone floor. The air was warm and clean. It smelled faintly sweet, like rain on soil. Elias straightened slowly, his body tense, every sense screaming danger. He was no longer in the city. The space around him was vast, open, and impossibly elegant. Tall arches curved overhead, carved from a material that looked like crystal and stone at the same time. Light flowed from the walls themselves, shifting gently like living things. There were no guards in sight, no drones, no signs of industry. This was not a transport hub. Elias swallowed. "This is bad," he muttered. He took a cautious step forward. His boots made a soft sound, quickly swallowed by the space around him. The floor reflected faint shapes like stars beneath his feet. The further he walked, the more he felt watched, not by eyes, but by awareness. He had heard the name only once, spoken in fear by an old human who had worked too close to the upper levels. The Queen's Palace. Elias' chest tightened. Humans were not allowed here. No one was except the highest alien nobles and the Queen herself. To enter this place without permission was not just illegal. It was unthinkable. He turned, searching for another exit, but the gate behind him was gone. The wall was smooth, unbroken, as if it had never existed. A soft sound echoed through the hall. Not footsteps, something lighter. Elias froze. Figures emerged from the shadows, tall and slender, their forms wrapped in flowing armor that looked more ceremonial than practical. Their faces were visible, pale and elongated, eyes dark and unreadable. Palace sentinels. Elias raised his hand slowly, the data shard pressing against his chest like a burning coal. "I didn't mean to come here," he said, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at him. I was just trying to stay alive. The sentinels stopped a few steps away. They did not raise weapons. They did not speak. Instead, they tilted their heads slightly as if listening to something Elias could not hear. Time stretched. Elias waited for the pain, the punishment, the end. It did not come. One sentinel stepped aside and gestured forward, deeper into the palace. Elias stared. "You're letting me go?" The sentinel's voice was calm, almost gentle, but carried a weight that made Elias' skin prickle. "You are summoned? By who?" Elias asked, though he already knew. There was a pause just long enough to feel intentional. "The Queen." Elias felt cold spread through him, even in the warm air. He had prepared himself for capture, for labor camps, even for death if it meant the data reached the resistance. He had not prepared for this. He followed. They moved through corridors that seemed to change subtly as they walked, curves shifting, light adjusting. Elias could not tell if they were going up or down. The palace felt less like a building and more like a living place, aware of every step he took. As they walked, memories pressed in on him, the faces of other humans. The way people learned to keep their heads down, their voices low. The quiet anger that never fully went away. He wondered if the Queen could feel it, if that was why he had been brought here. They entered a vast chamber open to the sky. Above them, stars burned brightly, unfiltered by pollution or shields. At the center of the chamber stood a raised platform, smooth and dark. She waited there. The alien queen was not what Elias expected. She was tall but not monstrous, powerful but not cruel in appearance. Her form was elegant, her presence heavy like gravity itself. Her eyes were bright, ancient, and painfully aware. Elias dropped to one knee without thinking. Fear did that. Respect did too, though he hated himself for it. "You ran far," the queen said. Her voice was not loud, yet it filled the chamber. It did not sound like sound alone. It felt like thought. Elias lifted his head slightly. "I didn't have a choice." The queen studied him in silence. Elias felt exposed, as if every memory, every secret fear lay open. He thought of the data shard again and the people counting on him. "You crossed a threshold no human has crossed before," she said. "Do you know why you still live?" Elias swallowed. "No, your majesty." A faint change passed through her expression, not anger, not amusement. "Curiosity, because you are interesting," she said. The word struck harder than any threat. Elias stayed silent. He had learned long ago that humans survived alien attention by listening more than speaking. "You flee," the queen continued, "yet you do not discard what burdens you. You run not only for yourself." Her gaze sharpened. Elias felt pressure in his chest, as if his heart were being gently squeezed. "What do you carry?" she asked. Elias' fingers tightened against his jacket. He thought of lies, excuses, denial. None felt useful here. "Hope," he said quietly, "for people who don't have much left." The chamber was still. The sentinels did not move. The stars above seemed frozen. The queen stepped closer. Each step was silent, controlled. She stopped in front of him, close enough that Elias could see fine lines along her skin, marks of age measured in centuries. "Humans confuse us," she said. "You break when all logic says you should endure. You endure when surrender would preserve you." Her eyes met his. "You ran into my palace by accident," she said, "but accidents are often the beginning of change." Elias did not know what would happen next. He only knew that running had ended, and something far more dangerous had begun. And somewhere beyond the palace walls, the city waited, unaware that a single human heartbeat now stood at the center of an empire. Elias stood where he was, his knee still touching the smooth floor, his body stiff with tension. The queen's words stayed in the air, heavy and slow, as if the palace itself was listening. She turned away from him and walked back toward the center of the platform. Her movement was calm, measured, and sure. Elias realized then that nothing in this place hurried. Time here did not rush like it did in the lower city. Time waited. "Rise," the queen said. Elias hesitated for only a moment before standing. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself upright. He kept his eyes lowered, not out of respect alone, but because meeting her gaze felt like standing too close to a fire. "You are afraid," the queen said. "Yes," Elias replied honestly. "Good," she said. "Fear sharpens thought, comfort dulls it." She gestured and the chamber changed. The open sky dimmed slightly and light gathered near the edges of the platform. Shapes formed in the air, soft and glowing. Images. Elias recognized the lower city. He saw humans moving through narrow streets, carrying loads, repairing machines they were not allowed to understand fully. He saw guards watching from above, always watching. The images shifted, showing different worlds, different colonies. The pattern stayed the same. You see your kind as victims, the Queen said. You see us as rulers. This is a simple view, useful, incomplete. The images changed again. Now Elias saw alien ships, vast and powerful, but moving along familiar routes. He saw factories that had not changed design in centuries. Councils repeating the same arguments, the same decisions again and again. Our empire is old, the Queen continued. Old things value stability. Stability becomes habit. Habit becomes weakness. Elias looked up before he could stop himself. Then why keep us like this? He asked. Why not change? The Queen turned her head slightly, studying him. Change brings risk, she said. Risk brings loss. Loss frightens those who have much. She waved a hand, and the images faded. You ran because you were hunted, she said. But you ran with purpose. Tell me why? Elias took a slow breath. His heart still raced, but his thoughts were clearing. This was not an interrogation meant to break him. It was something else, something more dangerous. There are others like me, he said. Humans who move things, messages, data. We don't have ships or armies, we have timing. The Queen listened without interruption. We know we can't win by force, Elias continued. So we learn, we watch, we wait for cracks. Cracks, the Queen repeated softly. Yes, Elias said. Every system has them. People get tired, machines fail, orders conflict. You can't control everything, no matter how big the empire is. The Queen's eyes brightened slightly, not with anger but with interest. You speak as if this is obvious, she said. It is to us, Elias replied, because we live inside the cracks. Silence followed, not empty silence but full, like a held breath. You are not the first human brought before me, the Queen said at last. Elias' stomach tightened. What happened to the others? They tried to impress me, she said. They begged, they threatened, they lied. And me? Elias asked carefully. You speak as if your life is already spent, she said. That is unusual. Elias gave a small, humorless smile. It kind of is. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Elias felt the strange pressure again, like fingers brushing through his thoughts. Memories surfaced without his control. A small room where humans whispered. A woman teaching children to read using scraps of stolen data. An old man smiling as he broke a machine just enough to slow production. The Queen drew back slightly. You value outcomes more than survival, she said. That is inefficient. Maybe, Elias said, but it's human. The chamber doors opened quietly behind them. Figures entered, different from the sentinels. These aliens wore rigid robes marked with sharp symbols. Their posture was stiff, their movements sharp. Elias recognized authority when he saw it. The High Council. They did not look at Elias at first. Their attention was fixed on the Queen. This is unacceptable, one of them said. Its voice was clipped cold. A human trespasser stands alive in the palace. He is here because I summoned him, the Queen replied. He entered without permission, another said. That alone demands execution. Elias felt the air tighten. He did not move. He did not speak. He had learned long ago that speaking at the wrong time could kill you faster than silence. The guards were already in pursuit, the first counselor continued. This human carries illegal data. His presence threatens order. The Queen turned slowly to face them. When she spoke, her voice was calm, but something underneath it made Elias' skin prickle. Order that cannot survive a single human is not order, she said. It is fragility. The counselors stiffened. You risk destabilizing the empire, one said. The labor species must remain controlled. Controlled, the Queen repeated. Yes, but not wasted. She gestured toward Elias. This one sees what you refuse to see. The counselors finally looked at him. Their eyes were sharp, measuring, full of dislike. He is insignificant, one said. Kill him and be done with it. Elias met their gaze then. He did not glare. He did not bow. He simply looked back, tired and unafraid in a way that unsettled them. If I am insignificant, Elias said quietly, why are you afraid of what I carry? The council chamber erupted in sharp sounds, voices overlapping in agitation. That is enough, the Queen said. Silence fell instantly. She stepped closer to the counselors. You fear humans not because they are strong, she said, but because they act without permission. They do not wait for systems to allow change. One counselor's voice hardened. Then they must be removed. The Queen's gaze cooled. Perhaps, she said. Or perhaps they must be understood. The counselors exchanged glances. Elias could feel the tension building, sharp and dangerous. You forget your role, one said carefully. The empire exists because we prevent chaos. And yet, the queen replied, chaos arrives regardless. She turned away from them and looked back at Elias. Your data, she said. It has already been transmitted, has it not? Elias hesitated, then nodded. Fragments, he said. Enough. The counselors reacted instantly. Then he is no longer useful, one snapped. End this now. The queen raised a hand. No, she said. Now he is most useful. Elias felt a strange mix of relief and dread. The queen approached him again, her voice lowering. You carry more than data, she said. You carry intent. I want to observe what happens when intent meets power. She straightened and addressed the chamber. This human remains under my protection, she declared. Any action against him is an action against me. The counselors stiffened. One opened its mouth to argue, then stopped. Slowly, reluctantly, they bowed. This is not finished, one said. Nothing ever is, the queen replied. The counselors turned and left, their steps sharp and controlled. The doors sealed behind them. Elias let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. I think they want me dead, he said. Yes, the queen said simply. That makes two of us, Elias muttered, then winced, expecting punishment. Instead, the queen made a sound that might have been amusement. You speak freely for a captive, she said. I don't feel like one, Elias replied. Good, she said. Because you are not. She gestured again, and the chamber softened. Light dimmed, the pressure eased. You will remain here, she said. You will answer my questions. You will show me how humans think when survival is no longer the only concern. And if I refuse? Elias asked. You won't, the queen said. Curiosity binds you as strongly as fear. She was right. Elias knew it. As sentinels approached to guide him away, Elias glanced back once more at the open sky above the chamber. The stars looked closer here, clearer. For the first time since he started running, he was not moving forward or backward. He was standing at the edge of something unknown. And far below, in the lower city, systems shifted quietly, unaware that the human variable had just been noticed. Elias was given a room that felt more like a quiet garden than a prison. The walls curved gently, glowing with soft light that changed with his breathing. There were no bars, no locks that he could see. Still, he knew he could not leave unless the queen allowed it. He sat on the smooth floor for a long time, trying to calm his thoughts. Everything that had happened felt unreal. One moment he had been running for his life, chased through dirty streets. The next, he was under the protection of the most powerful being in the empire. That thought alone should have terrified him more than it did. A soft sound broke the silence. The light near one wall shifted, and the queen appeared as if she had stepped out of the air itself. Elias stood at once, unsure of the rules here. You do not need to stand, she said. This is not a place of formality. Elias hesitated, then slowly sat again. I don't know what this place is, he said. It is a place to observe, the queen replied. For both of us. She moved closer, not threatening, but impossible to ignore. Elias felt that familiar pressure again, light but steady, like a hand resting on his thoughts. I have watched many species, she said. Most follow patterns, predictable paths. You do not. We don't really have a choice, Elias said. The queen tilted her head slightly. Explain. When everything is controlled, Elias said, choosing his words carefully, you either accept it or you find ways around it. Humans aren't good at accepting cages. Yet you build them for yourselves, the queen said. Elias nodded. Yes, and we break those too. The queen was silent for a moment. Then the space around them changed. The walls faded, replaced by moving images in the air. Elias saw human settlements on distant worlds. Some were small, barely surviving. Others were broken, abandoned. These are outcomes, the queen said. Most species avoid such risk. Why do humans accept it? Because standing still feels worse, Elias replied, even if moving hurts. The queen studied him closely. Your kind chooses uncertainty over safety, she said. That defies reason. Maybe reason isn't everything, Elias said. Something shifted then, subtle but important. The pressure in the air changed, not heavier but sharper. Elsewhere in the palace, far from Elias' quiet room, the High Council gathered in secrecy. Their chamber was rigid, angular, filled with harsh light. They spoke quickly, voices tight with anger. The queen is compromised, one said. She protects a human, another replied. This is unacceptable. She sees value where there is only disruption, a third said. If humans inspire rebellion, the empire fractures. Silence followed. Then a decision formed, unspoken but clear. We act, one said, quietly. Back in the lower city, the effects of Elias' data had begun to spread, not loudly, not all at once. Small delays, small failures. Workers taking longer routes. Machines needing repairs at the wrong times. Humans noticed. They always did. Elias felt it before he understood it. A faint tension like distant thunder. He looked up as the Queen paused mid-step. "You feel it too," she said. "What is it?" Elias asked. "Movement," she replied. "You set many things in motion." "I didn't plan for this," Elias said. "No one ever does," the Queen said. "That is what makes it dangerous." The room dimmed slightly as a signal passed through the palace. The Queen's expression hardened. "The council moves against me," she said calmly. Elias' chest tightened. "Because of me?" "Because of what you represent," she corrected. Elias stood. "Then let me go, I'll disappear." The Queen looked at him, truly looked at him, as if weighing something ancient. "You misunderstand," she said. "This is no longer about you alone." The palace trembled just slightly. Not an explosion, but a shift, like a deep breath taken by something very large. Sentinels appeared at the edges of the room, alert now, focused. "The council seeks to restore certainty," the Queen said. "They believe removing you will restore balance." "And you?" Elias asked. "I believe certainty is an illusion," she replied, "and illusions weaken us." The tremor came again, stronger this time. Somewhere far below, alarms began to sound, not the harsh alarms of the lower city, but deeper tones meant for those in power. "They're attacking?" Elias asked. "They are attempting control," the Queen said. "A common mistake." The images around them changed rapidly. Elias saw parts of the palace he had not known existed. Corridors sealing, systems rerouting, council chambers locking down. "And the humans?" Elias asked suddenly. The Queen looked at him. "They are responding," she said. In the lower city, guards found themselves overwhelmed not by force but by confusion. Orders conflicted. Gates failed to open. Humans moved through spaces they should not have been able to reach, not because they were allowed, because no one had planned for them to try. Elias felt a strange calm settle over him. "They won't stop," he said. "No," the Queen agreed. "They never do." A sharp sound echoed nearby as something impacted a distant barrier. The sentinels shifted, forming a protective pattern around the Queen. "This could get bad," Elias said. "It already is," she replied. She turned to him. "Tell me," she said, "why do humans rise when success is unlikely?" Elias thought of the old man with the broken machine, of whispered lessons, of quiet smiles shared in dark places. "Because someone has to try," he said, "even if it fails, especially if it fails." The Queen was silent. Then slowly she nodded. The palace shook again, more violently now. The council's forces had breached an inner system. Energy surged through the structure, lights flaring. "Stay close," the Queen said. Elias did not argue. He moved beside her as the world around them shifted. The calm elegance of the palace gave way to urgency, not panic but action. As they moved, Elias saw council guards clash with palace sentinels. There was no chaos, only precision. Systems adapted in real time. Paths opened where needed, closed where not. "You built this place to last," Elias said, almost in awe. "Yes," the Queen replied, "but lasting is not the same as living." A blast shook the corridor ahead. Debris scattered, but the path remained open. Elias shielded his face, heart pounding. He was not a soldier. He had no weapon. Yet he kept moving, because that was what humans did. They reached an overlook that revealed the heart of the palace systems. Energy flowed like light through channels, pulsing with control and information. The Queen stopped there. "This is where the Empire listens to itself," she said. "And the Council?" Elias asked. "They seek to silence change," she replied. Another tremor hit, then another. From the city below, a signal flared. Human signals, crude compared to alien systems, but persistent, unignorable. "They're watching," Elias said. "Yes," the Queen said softly, "and learning." She turned to him. "If I act openly, the Council will claim tyranny. If I fall, the Empire fractures." Elias met her gaze. "Then don't act alone." The Queen studied him. "You suggest sharing power." "I suggest sharing risk," Elias said. "Humans are good at that." For the first time, something like uncertainty crossed her face. Below them, the palace shook as systems fought for control. Above them, stars burned steadily, indifferent. The Queen straightened. "Very well," she said. "Let us see what happens when unpredictability is allowed to speak." She reached out, not to a control, but to Elias. "Stand with me," she said. Elias did. Far below in the streets and factories, humans felt it. A shift. A pause, the sense that something old was breaking, not loudly, but enough to change everything. The palace shook one last time, then slowly became still. Lights steadied. The deep warning tones faded into silence. What followed was not relief, but waiting. Elias stood beside the queen, his body tense, his hands clenched at his sides. He had no weapon, no armor, no authority. Yet he felt the weight of the moment press down on him harder than any guard ever had. The queen lowered her hand. "It is done," she said. Elias exhaled slowly. "What does that mean?" "It means the council has failed," she replied. Not because they were weak, but because they were certain. She turned and walked toward the center of the overlook. The palace responded to her presence, pathways lighting up, systems opening like petals. Elias followed, careful, alert. Elsewhere in the palace, members of the High Council were being surrounded. Not attacked, not harmed, simply contained. Their commands no longer carried weight. Their authority had been paused, not destroyed. That alone terrified them. In the lower city, humans noticed the change almost immediately. Guards stopped giving orders. Gates that were always locked stayed open just a little too long. Screens went blank, then returned with new symbols no one recognized. People whispered. Some were afraid. Others smiled. Elias felt a strange pull in his chest. "They know something happened," he said. "Yes," the queen replied. "They feel uncertainty." She stopped before a wide platform that overlooked the city far below. The view was vast, towers, streets, lights. Millions of lives moving without knowing how close they had come to being crushed by a decision made in a quiet room. The queen raised her hand, and her voice carried, not as sound alone, but as presence. It flowed through the palace, through the city, through every system connected to the empire's core. "Attend," she said. Across the capital world, beings paused, aliens of every rank, humans in factories, counselors in confinement. The empire listened. "For generations," the queen continued, "we have valued order above all else. We believed control ensured survival." Her gaze shifted slightly downward toward the lower city. "And yet," she said, "control bred stillness, stillness bred weakness." Elias felt his throat tighten. He did not know what she planned to say next. He only knew the universe was leaning in. "A human entered my palace by accident," the queen said. "He carried no weapon, he brought no army, he ran." A pause. "He ran not for power," she continued, "but for others." That choice revealed a truth we have ignored. Elias swallowed. "Humans are not strong because they dominate," the queen said. "They are strong because they act without certainty of success." Murmurs spread across the empire. Confusion, anger, fear. The queen's voice did not rise. "Therefore," she said, "humanity will no longer be classified as property." The reaction was immediate. In the lower city, people froze. Tools slipped from hands. Conversations stopped mid-word. Elias felt his knees weaken. "They will be recognized as autonomous participants within the empire," the queen continued. "Not as rulers, not as servants, as partners." The word echoed, partners. "This is not mercy," the queen said. "It is adaptation." She lowered her hand. The connection faded, but the silence that followed was louder than any alarm. Elias stared at her. "You just changed everything," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied, "and nothing." She turned to face him. Up close, she looked tired, not weak, just aware. "The empire will resist," she said. "Some will rebel, some will flee. Change always hurts." "And humans?" Elias asked. The queen looked down at the city again. "Humans will do what they always do," she said. "They will move." Days passed. Elias was not imprisoned. He was not celebrated. He was returned, escorted from the palace not by guards but by open doors. When he stepped back into the lower city, the air felt different, not cleaner, not safer, just less heavy. People recognized him, though he had never been famous. They looked at him with questions in their eyes. He did not have answers. He only nodded and kept walking. The resistance did not crown him a leader. They did not need to. His story spread on its own, not as legend, but as proof. Proof that the highest power in the empire had listened. That mattered. The council was restructured, slowly, carefully, not dismantled but forced to share influence. Other species watched closely, some hopeful, some afraid. Human settlements were allowed limited self-governance. It was not freedom, not yet, but it was space, and humans knew how to use space. The queen returned to watching. She stood often beneath the open sky of her chamber, gazing at futures she could not fully see anymore. Humanity had disrupted her sight. Paths blurred, outcomes multiplied. For the first time in centuries, the future was not a straight line. She found that she did not hate this. Elias never returned to the palace. He lived among his people, helping where he could, moving information, teaching others how systems worked. He refused titles, refused protection. He stayed human. One night, standing on a rooftop, Elias looked up at the stars. Ships moved differently now. Routes changed. Signals overlapped in new ways. The universe felt bigger. Somewhere far above, the alien queen looked out at the same stars. She thought of a human who had run into her palace by accident and reminded an empire how to survive, not by holding tighter, but by letting go. And across the galaxy, old powers adjusted their calculations, because humanity had entered the equation, and nothing would ever be predictable again.